Hello and welcome. My name's Jessica Rose. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make some beaded cocktail rings. So once you know how to make these, you can make smaller ones like this little guy, and you can make them as big as you like. The sky is the limit, and they're really nice, fun pieces of fashion jewelry that are a great beginner project. You learn how to work with wire. We're going to use some crystals, some different beads. So all that we need are, you need a ring sizer of some sort to help you size your ring. Now you can get cheap plastic ones of these available online. You don't need this metal one, it's just the one that I have. Or if you have a ring that fits you really well, we could use that. Also really helps to have a wooden mandrel, which is this tapered stick. They are a few pounds online, you can buy them. Or if you don't have that, you could use something like a Pritt stick, but you just need to work a bit with the sizing around it. We want a nice selection of crystals and beads that we're going to use to make our ring with. You need a pencil, and that's for ring sizing as well. And then you need some pliers, so you want some side cutters and some chain nose pliers. For this project, you don't need your round nose pliers. And then wire wise, you need some 0.8mm. I'm using silver plated wire. For our US friends, that is 20 gauge, and also some 0.4mm wire. That's for wrapping the beads around. And I'm working on a beading mat. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is check your ring size. So using either a ring that fits really well or a ring sizing gauge like this, I'm just going to get it so it feels nice and comfortable, like a ring, how I would want to fit it. And then I'm going to go up 3 sizes, because as I make this piece, I'm going to be wrapping around a lot. It is going to get bigger. That's the wrong size, that's smaller. So I'm going to go up 3 sizes and find the one that fits for me, which in this case is an R. So when I put it on, it should feel significantly big so that I've got room when I've made it for it to work. Now the sizing on these does sometimes take a little while to get used to, so don't worry if your first one isn't perfect. Practice makes better. And I'm just going to place it on my mandrel, and using my pencil just underneath, I'm going to mark. And you can see I've got lots of marks where I've used it before, so I need to make sure I remember which mark is my current mark. So that's what I'm going to use as my guide. Now if you just had a ring that fits, you just pop that on. And if you're just working with Pritt stick, you're kind of guessing, and we're going to have to shape it a little bit later around your finger. So now I'm going to get some of my 0.8mm silver plated wire, and I want about 20 to 30 centimeters of this. I'm going to cut off. I'm just snipping that with my side cutters. Then using my marker as a gauge, I'm going to leave about a little length off one end, let's say about 10 centimeters or so, and I'm going to wrap around the other. And I'm holding it in place with my thumb. This is important. I don't want it to spring open. I want it to retain this shape. So I'm going to keep wrapping, and I'm going to do 2 or 3, I'd say at least 3 actually, 3 or 4 wraps until I'm happy with how it looks. And then I'm going to, without letting go of the tension, grab it with my other hand and take it off the mandrel. And now I need to use my ends to wrap it. So again, I don't want to let go. If I let go, it's going to spring open and lose the sizing that I've been working on. So I'm just going to take one side and wrap it up and over. Now what's important when you do this, a lot of beginners will start to thread it through like this, like sewing, but you don't have a lot of control in that way, and it's much more difficult to wrap in that way. So with wire wrapping, we always, where we can, we want to stay close to the base, use my finger to hold it so it doesn't run away, and my thumb to push down the middle and all the way through. And I'm going to do that again right next to it to try and make it as neat as I can. Doesn't have to be perfect, but we do what we can. And a third time for luck. Then when I'm happy with that wrap, I can move over to my next one. So the next wrap, I want to do it roughly 1/3 of the way around the ring from the first one. So I'm going to do it roughly about here. and I'm going to hold it in place and do exactly the same. So I'm wrapping round and through. And again, the first time you do these, they can feel a bit fiddly, but once you've done them for a while, it's like second nature. So I'm going to do roughly 3 wraps here to match the other side. And remember, with wire wrapping, you are in charge, so you get to tell the wire what to do, so you can guide it. So now I have got the front. I've done it about half of the way around. Ideally it would be about 1/3, but half is fine. We can work with that. So now I'm going to use my cutters to just cut off those ends that I no longer need. So just snip them off. And I'm going to use my chain nose pliers, which are the ones that are flat on the inside and pointy on the outside, to just tuck those wire ends in a little bit. And I want to run my finger across and for it to feel smooth. And this is actually how we make a ring base in wire. So this can be used for all sorts of rings, not just these kind. It's a really good skill to be able to learn. And now I have my ring base. I am going to start attaching on my lovely beads. So this is how I normally design for these sort of cocktail rings, is it's a bit eclectic, kind of put together different colours, different beads that I think might work well together. I might not use every single bead here, but it gives me an idea of the sort of look that I'm going for if we look at something like this. So I want to attach on some 0.4mm wire next, and I'm using silver plated again. So to attach the wire on, I'm going to be threading my crystals across this section of the band, which is the least neat section, shall we say, the front bit where all the wires are twisted. So I'm going to hide that bit as best possible. So I'm going to take my wire through the middle and just leave a little bit out the end and attach it to one of my wraps, because wire likes to attach to more wire, and just holding it in place, I'm going to wrap it around 3 to 4 times to get a really secure attachment. And but you can't guess what is next. Gonna cut and squidge off that tiny end. Always make sure it's nice and smooth, especially if you're doing any bits on the inside of a ring. Wonderful, so now I'm ready. I'm going to do one more wrap just to get it in the place that I want to start wrapping from. So keep in mind that when I'm wearing this on my finger, I'm just going to show you my small finger to show you, I don't want it to go past the front section because it will be uncomfortable if it goes too far. So I'm just going to keep it within the front third of the ring. So I'm going to wrap just to get into a nice position to start my beads. Then threading on, I'm going to start small. So start with one small bead. Doesn't really matter the colour, as long as it is one from your little collection. Then I'm going to pull it all the way down so it is on my band. Place it where I want it. Hold it in place. I'm going to cover it because I need to hold it. And then whilst it's in place, if I don't hold it in place, it's just going to follow the wire around. I'm going to, again, push down first and pull through. And I'm going to do that one more time. Still holding my bead in place, push down and pull through. So once I've done 2 of those, I can see that it is attached. And I'm going to repeat that again. I'm going to add another one on. Always start with the smaller beads and always start with one at a time. We will work up towards having lots at a time, towards the end. So next up, bring it all the way down, and I'm going to place it where I want it, just next to my original one. I'm going to hold that in place and push down and through. So it is a little bit like, feels almost a little bit like sewing, the sewing action at this point when you're holding it in place. But again, we always push at the base first, not from the tail of the wire. So there we go, I've got 2 on there. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a couple more. And I'm going to go all the way across to this section so that I've covered the front third with singular beads. And then I'm going to meet you there to come backwards. Okay, so now I've made my way across about 1/3 of the ring with individual crystals. I'm going to start going back, and this is where I can start adding perhaps 2 small ones at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and thread those on. And these rings are quite organic. They kind of have a bit of a life of their own and do their own thing. So I would say don't over plan them and go with the flow a little bit. Use your intuition to work out where you want to put things and when. So I've got 2 on now, and I'm just going to place it on top. As always, early on I need to kind of hold them in place because they don't stay. But I do want to make sure it's nice and tight, so I don't want to leave any gaps because that will make the piece a bit more vulnerable. So you can see those 2 are on there now. So holding that in place, I'm just going to wrap. Always wrap twice round to secure it in place. And if your wire does get a bit tangled, just take your time. You want to try and avoid getting any kinks. If you do run out of wire before you reach the end of the making process, don't worry, you can always add some more on by wrapping it around one of the ends a couple of times, just like we did at the beginning, and just take off from where you left off. So I'm going to have a go now at putting a nice big bead in the center. So I'm going to take one of my more chunky beads and thread it all the way through. And I'll think about where I want it, so quite nice and central. It's quite nice to have a big one. Hold it in place if it needs it, and wrap it around nice and tight. I'm not going to worry too much about the design at this stage. I'm going to be able to go back and fill in bits that look a bit odd, and it will come together. And what I'm going to do now is just keep going backwards and forwards, adding more and more beads. Towards the end I might add 2 or 3 beads on until I'm happy with my design. So you can see on this one that I made earlier, towards the end I've got lots of little beads, almost like 5 or 6 in some cases, and I've got a couple of big ones too. These cocktail rings work really well with a mixture of sizes, but lots of small beads are very effective. So I've got bicone crystals here, and I've got them in size, a size 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters, and then I've got some round beads that are 5 or 6 millimeters. So that kind of size works really well. So I'm just adding 3 little ones on here, wrapping it round. And I'm going to keep going, working on my ring until I've got a really nice design that I'm happy with. Okay, so you can see I've worked my way around, and I think this is probably going to be my last wrap for this design. So as I said, feel free to go add as many or as few beads as you like. Don't worry about the wires being shown, that's part of the design of this ring. So it is perfectly natural and normal that you will see some of the wires, but having some nice strong colours and some beautiful crystals is really going to help that to shine through. So what I'm doing now, I've finished and I'm sort of in the middle, slightly to one side of the ring with my wire. I'm going to wrap it a few times around to get it right to the edge of the ring. So I always want to finish on the edge, not in the middle where all the beads are. And once I'm happy, I've wrapped it around a few times and I'm on one of these little bases, I'm going to cut that final end off and tuck it in. Lovely, and there we have our finished cocktail ring, all ready to use. And like I said, once you have mastered the basics of this project, there are so many different designs that you can do. Your potential is limitless with these. You can make them big, you can make them small, but I think they're really impressive little projects that anyone can make from home. These are one of the first pieces of jewellery I made, and I absolutely still love them to this day. So enjoy your cocktail ring making. Do come and let us know in the comments if you're having a go with this project, and we'd love to see your pictures of your makes over on the Jewellers Academy Facebook page, or tag us on Instagram at Jewellers Academy. And thanks once again for joining me, and I'll see you on another course very soon. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you would like to find out more about our free online courses and join our community, visit us at jewellersacademy.com.